First, sir, your sources. You know, how do you know this is what Google is working on right now?
So what our business is about is looking into the supply chain to look at production. So we have contacts with the panel providers and the contract manufacturers, the ODMs, and we're able to understand from them what their roadmaps are, and we can use the two supply chains, panel and ODM, to cross-check each other. So if the panel maker is making the panel and the ODM maker is making the device, then we know from both sides that there's a product in the channel.
You could work at the CIA one day if you keep this stuff up. Okay, so you've got a great idea that this is happening. What about why it's happening? I mean, why, if you're Google, go bigger? It's something we saw Amazon just announce recently too.
Sure. So the idea is that they want to proliferate the number of devices to address the largest size of market, meaning the most users, the most consumers, that appeal to those that may want a 7-inch versus those that may want a 10-inch. But ultimately, the screen size doesn't really matter. It's really the experience that they're trying to promote, and that's been kind of lost in the shuffle because the devices haven't quite been as competitive with the iPad as they should be.
Right.
And so this is Google's attempt to be a little more assertive in terms of the hardware design.
What ultimately do you think this could mean for Apple? I mean, you're talking about a company in Apple that in the last 3 quarters, I think, has sold more than 44 million iPads. If the question is, does a bigger Google tablet potentially put a dent in some of the iPad market share? What do you say?
Well, I think it's inevitable, mainly because Apple has such a large chunk of the market that, as the market grows, as there's more competitors, it's impossible to keep that much of the market.
And explain again the market as you see it. Like, how much does Apple have right now?
Sure. So they have about 60–70% of the market,
60–70%?
Depending on the quarter and depending on the year that you're looking at it.
And you see that potentially going to by?
That'll definitely drift downwards. It's just too big a share to try to maintain. It'll probably drift into the 60s to upper 50s over the next few years.
Over the next few years. What about partnering, as you found in your supply chain search, with Samsung? When Google came out with their own tablet earlier this year, the smaller one, Asus was their partner on that. What's the significance of teaming up with Samsung, which obviously is battling Apple in courts all over the world?
Sure. Well, Samsung is a big provider. It's not just the devices, but also the components. Teaming up with them helps Google in the sense that they have a large manufacturer who has a history of making good devices. Also, they've been kind of caught in the middle in some cases because they've only provided the software. And when they started to get into hardware, some of the partners were starting to get concerned that maybe they would have Google as a competitor. But by teaming with Samsung, they're saying, we're working with the hardware ecosystem. We want to raise all boats.
We've only got about 15 seconds left. This holiday season, between Amazon and Google and Apple and all the others, what is the #1 question you think tablet buyers are going to ask before they put their money down?
During all the shopping season or holiday seasons, it's about price. What can I get for how much can I get for my dollar?
And Google, you think, could be in a competitive pricing position?
Yeah, the tablet market is drifting towards these lower price points. $199 seems to be a big one, but we're also seeing $99 devices coming out.
It is a change, and thanks a lot, Richard. Really appreciate it. MPD Display Search Analyst Richard Chim joining us. Nicole, back over to you.